Did you see that freaking move that the Young Bucks did the other day?
I have not seen the move, but I heard about the move.
Oh, my God.
They're not thinking about their character. They're not thinking about how would this character act in this situation. The character absolutely goes out the window because they're memorizing the matches. They're going move for move so they can go on Meltzer's site the next day and see that, oh, we had a 4-star match. These guys, Generation Me, these two guys, 21 years old or however they were, it's they know more than the veterans in that locker room will ever know.
He's exposing the business just like all those old timers that have podcasts.
Oh yeah, I love that. It's like, man, these guys are exposing the business. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get a podcast that exposes the business. I don't get that, by the way. I don't get it.
They're just all trying to stay in the limelight, those dumbasses.
Yeah.
F off, old timers.
Yo, shock jocks, you need a payday. Oh, let me bait in who I can bait on Twitter and see if they'll respond so I can get more content. You're not gonna get a response from us. This doesn't even count.
We will superkick down the Great Wall of Meltzer to uncover the superkick cabal that runs it all, the Reseda hairline boys themselves, the superkick slinging slashers, agents of the dirt sheet industrial complex, the elite themselves, Matt and Nick Jackson. The Young Bucks. The Young Bucks rose to prominence in an era of pro wrestling guerrilla, an indie promotion in Southern California, where they perfected their innovative style of spamming super kicks, they meta and Reddit tier postmodern humor, using wrestling as the canvas. And it is here where the inciting incident takes place. You see, every villain has their origin. For Harvey Dent, it was Burns. For the Joker, it was society. But for the Young Bucks, it was being forced to actually wrestle a match with psychology.
These moves aren't performed out of hate. Oh, I just believe that these men have fun.
Nick, I tried to set up like a land-based versus ocean-based rivalry. Somewhat unsuccessfully. Danielson stomps the knees of Matt Jackson into the canvas.
According to the Young Bucks book, Killing the Business, that name, every time Brian kicked, slapped, or chopped us, the crowd wanted more. Every time Roderick suplexed or body slammed us, the crowd wanted more. And guess what? When we tried to fight back, the audience booed. Too stubborn, Roderick and Brian were convinced they could still flip the crowd, so they continued to give us a beating. The crowd continued to cheer. Finally, feeling taken advantage of, Matt and I began to defend ourselves, and suddenly the match felt like a real fight. But the more we fought back, the harder they hit us back. And the harder they hit us, the louder the bloodthirsty fans got. All our chests were purple and blistering, and while Brian continued to deliver stiff elbow strikes to my head, I yelled, "Okay, that's enough!" I didn't want to look like a punk, and I respected the hell out of Brian, but I simply couldn't take any more. In the audience, I saw Matt's wife, Dana, in tears. She'd watched Matt perform for years, and she could tell something was going awry. Brandon and Dustin watched from the crowd, later telling us they came close to running out and getting involved. We went to the scheduled finish, where we'd hit our finisher, and the audience showered us with boos as the referee counted to 3.
To the PWG Tag Team Champions. Ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the DDT4 Tag Team Tournament and the PWG World Tag Team Champions, the Young
We laid there for a second, feeling a bit violated and disturbed. When we got to the back, the usual loud, spunky locker room had fallen to a hush. Everybody sat quietly with their heads down. Dana rushed into the room, her face wet with tears. Matt promised her he was going to be okay. Dana drove us home that night, as Matt and I sat in silence in our entire drive home, not even making our usual stop to the Taco Bell drive-thru. What the fuck? We were so disappointed in the fans and our colleagues. We've since forgiven Roderick and Brian for what was clearly an excessive beating, but Matt still refuses to replay the match. Dude, before I editorialize, let's make one thing very clear. I've never stepped foot in a ring. I don't know what that's like, but I do know this. The Bucks have made this an essential part of their identity in the years since, giving numerous interviews about its impact on how they view the wrestling industry. They've done the press rounds over the years, claiming it was such a disaster and it went off the rails, which is just not true. Danielson did not bury them. Strong didn't go too far with an excessive beating. They and PWG needed a job done. In a one-night tournament, they needed babyface champions crowned. And I'm not saying it was correct or incorrect, but the fact is there was a job to accomplish. And so they did it. And whatever, you feel what you feel, man, right? I wasn't there. I did not live it. It's their life. But the aftermath is very evidently what informed their ethos. Their motivation, their view of the industry is very, very fucking soft. You'll notice with these guys, it's all about feelings and their friends. But what if you aren't their friend? What if you don't share their feelings on professional wrestling? Well, you can go ahead and kiss your reputation goodbye.
I hated that in the Young Bucks book, they said I was last to the signing, because that's a big thing. Some of the AEW defenders who don't realize they're turning people off to their product more than they're turning people on. That's one of the things that people always cite. Oh, he was last. He wasn't that big a deal of the origin. No, this guy here who's off camera was the first person to ever meet Tony. And he met him in a vetting process for all of us. So yes, I guess I was the last. And yes, I had different thoughts. And it's not incorrect at all what they said.
That you were physically the last person.
Yeah, like it's not
sign your name.
It's not incorrect, but I was just in on it as well as anybody else. And that's a little thing that
The fact that I have to sit up here because we have irresponsible people who call themselves EVPs and couldn't fucking manage a target, and they spread lies and bullshit and put into a media that I got somebody fired when I have fuck all to do with him.
And it's already happening now with Ricky Starks. All these rumors about him turning down pitches for creative, all dutifully reported by their boy Dave Meltzer.
Tag team wrestling, the Young Bucks, they always look better somehow. Like you watch all these tag teams against the Young Bucks, my God, these guys are great, but they're never great against anybody else.
And you know, when you're backstage with the enemy of the revolution, it's carte blanche to bury the guy. It's not a real business. And if you think I'm stretching with regard to the Young Bucks' involvement in trafficking these rumors, the optics are all we really have to go by. The Young Bucks are pretty smart in that they don't really seethe in public interviews. They conduct themselves decently well. They don't refuse to lose to everybody. They cover all the bases with regard to not burying people's shoulders to the mat. What they do bury, it's the very medium of wrestling as a whole. Their insincerity and their "it's not that serious, bro" sentiment serves as a nice postmodern cloak from any and all criticism, where anyone who critiques their work can be dismissed through the lens of insincere, passive-aggressive shots of the SoCal variety.
Ring in half. Boy, look at Nick's fired up here, buddy, on the apron.
That's Matt, but
well,
he was
too.
Mocking the buckshot lariat.
Oh wow! How about that?
Don, after Full Gear, I know that. I mean, we didn't have.
You can't say that, right? Like that. You don't know that to be a fact, so you can't just spread rumors and bash someone on a public forum like this.
You're right. It's very, very, very unprofessional.
They've fostered this culture where earnestness is discouraged. Actually caring about what the veterans think and getting swept up in the action is considered lame, passé, and/or problematic. But self-referential, masturbatory self-referencing, that's all elite, baby. It's this attitude that, when channeled, could be awesome. The preening, Reddit snark, and that passive-aggressive, I am very smart energy could be channeled into storylines, well-developed storylines with heat, emotional involvement, and with the guy that, oh, that's right, the guy they got fired.
That's because I am the one true, genuine article in a business full of counterfeit bucks.
And then they did a victory lap, mocking that guy. Yeah, thanks, Phil. Thanks for drawing the house, brother. They took a victory lap in a half-empty arena in front of the guys that publicly stood up for that individual after the Young Bucks Meltzerian smear campaign that worked even me at the time. A fact I'm not proud of in the slightest. In the year since Punk's firing, the promotion the Young Bucks have been a part of since its inception, well, it's reaching a tipping point. Their next TV deal is on the horizon, and we'll see what happens, but should AEW fail to rebound from its current state and continue to double down on the feeling instead of actually running a real business, well, you shall receive what you put out into this world. It's perhaps poetic, right? That their hubris and disregard for the advice of legends past has come back to haunt them. The very industry they mock has rejected the very self-conscious, cynical postmodernism that they promote. And maybe they took the wrong lesson from Danielson and Strong all those years ago. And maybe instead, they've become wrestling LOLCows. Maybe those old-timers knew a thing or two. Or maybe I'm just a toxic Fed lover. As Uncle Dave would say, you tell me. Whatever you do, whatever stars you're shooting for, just don't harden your heart. State your case. Stand your ground on your worth and your identity. But never be afraid to listen to those who might know a thing or two. Those toxic old guys and girls might be trying to help you navigate the waters they once did. Or, you could always just cry yourself a good river instead. Whichever you choose, just keep it Kano. 'Cause life is cinema.